Hi everyone, this is Heather Lottinen from the Flourish.Academy. This is episode 518. Do you struggle with narrowing down your photos? So you've taken this beautiful session, you bring it into Lightroom, you have all of these photos, you know that you shouldn't deliver all of them. In fact, you should probably be delivering significantly fewer than you are, but you just struggle to pick out the best ones. Well, let me share this question that we were discussing yesterday and today in the Flourish.Academy membership. Okay, so this is how she phrased it. I'm spending entirely too long culling. I often find myself emotionally attaching to every photo that is nicely exposed, composed, and sharp. I resist rejecting them, or it takes me multiple passes through a gallery to finally reject. For example, while culling a senior session, I find myself keeping doubles or the exact same pose when one is a serious expression, which the senior will love, and also keeping the one with a nice smile, which the mom will love. What is your best tip or your mindset while culling to help you get through it faster and keep a limited set number of images? Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of tips or methodologies to approach this, as well as a few strategies. But let me say this. Every session outside of a wedding, every portrait session, you should have completely finished and ready for delivery within 1 hour. That means the culling process, maybe 15 to 20 minutes, and you should have it done. Now, weddings are going to take a little bit longer, obviously just due to the volume alone, but for any other type of session, you should be able to call them down pretty quickly. Okay, so let me give you a couple of methodologies using Lightroom, and I have a ton of videos on this. But first, you could press the X key to reject the photos that don't fit the bill and turn on a filter to remove those rejected photos from your view. This is what I do. So I turn on that filter, and then I have my right hand on the arrow key, and I'm like, bam, 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 bam. Then I have my left hand on the X key, reject, 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 and I am ruthless, and I move really quickly. I do 2 passes. The first pass is anything that is obviously a really poor expression or out of focus, or the exposure is way off, bad composition. It's just really obvious, right? So I move very quickly. I don't allow myself to think. No thinking on this first pass. It's just pure like boom, 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 boom. Okay, I'm usually able to get rid of almost everything pretty quickly. But then there are the few that, like she was describing, where the poses are very similar. They almost look like doubles, and you have to narrow it down. On my second pass, I take my time and I compare images, but I don't give myself a ton of time to do this. Now, the opposite, I guess it's just different strategy to this, is rather than rejecting photos, to actually pick your photos. So if you are going through your photos, your right arrow key, bam, 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 and you press P on your keyboard, that will pick the photo. So rather than rejecting, you're just picking your favorites. My friend Susie uses this approach. She uses color coding. I think the number 6, well, 6 is for red, and then maybe 7, but I can't remember what her meaning is behind that. But she has like her favorites, and then her ones that are good, and her ones that are favorite. Okay, see, it's too much. My brain is like super simple. To me, it's like it's gone or it's a keep. So you can use either one of those methods, which is, does it make more sense for you to pick an image, P on the keyboard, or X to reject it? There's no right or wrong answer here. These are just different choices, and both of them work really well. Okay, so the second thing I do is, while I am doing that, I set a timer. And I do this to save me from myself, to eliminate the thinking. I have this timer. Look at this. Isn't this great? And you set it like this. Oh my gosh. So it's red and scary, and it's big and obnoxious, and it beeps like, whoa, crazy when it's done. And I put this right in front of my computer because it's obviously very, very visual. Oh, so you might say, Heather, why wouldn't you just like set an alarm on your watch or something for 15 or 20 minutes? Oh, because I've studied these books on the brain, and there is something about the visual of an analog clock that works differently with your brain function than digital. Oh, you don't believe me? You can read it. Listen, who cares? This is about photography. This works for me. It's big and it's obnoxious. And this red is like counting down. So it's like this. And I'm like in a race to beat this clock. I better put this on a different time because it will beep and you'll be like, wow, it's very obnoxious. I'll put the link to this. It's called the time timer. And I got it on Amazon per recommendation for an organizational person that I follow. And I love it. So I set that timer. Okay. You have to figure out what makes you tick and sort of hack yourself. Like I'm always hacking my brain. What works for me? That works for me. Using X works for me, but that might not work for you. So you have to experiment, with different methodologies to see what fits. Okay. All of that being said, all of the strategies in the world will not help you if you are emotionally attached to these photos. So what she said specifically was, I'm emotionally attached and I resist rejecting them. Okay, this is an entirely different issue. And we talk a lot about woo-woo stuff inside of the membership, and this is one of those instances. Okay, so if you are a technical strategist, you have your methodologies, you have your strategies, go make it happen. This is a different issue. This is about a connection being attached to an image, and it's not going to serve you. You have to detach from the images and make professional decisions, and you need to make them quickly. But if you're attached and you're resisting this, there's a reason. And I don't know what that reason is specifically in this case, but could it be that you don't feel confident that they're going to like the photos? You don't feel confident in your decisions to pick the right ones. You're worried about something. There is resistance always equals some type of fear. And again, I don't know what the fear is, and everybody's case is going to be a little bit different, but there's something, if you're resisting something, if there's a struggle, it's because you fear that doing something will have some type of negative consequence. So I'm not sure what that looks like for you, because this is obviously a deeper conversation. These are actually the types of things we cover in depth in our coaching calls for the membership, because we can talk these things through. I like to ask probing questions to get people to figure out for themselves, what is holding me back? I think in a lot of cases, not everyone's, it's a confidence issue. I don't feel confident enough in my work to just deliver the good ones, boom, and be done. So this is going to take a mindset shift to, I am the professional. It is my job to deliver the best. I've had photographers tell me, oh no, I just deliver thousands of images for the wedding. I think that is completely negligent. You are asking your client to do your job. If it was hard for you to choose your favorites, how much harder will it be for the client? It's them. They should be emotionally attached to these images. You should not. You are doing your clients a disservice by overwhelming them with too many images. And for portrait sessions and senior sessions, listen, everybody's a different range of what makes sense to them. Maybe it's 20 images, maybe it's 50 images. I don't know what that looks like for you. You can establish your business however you would like. But I'm guessing that you might be over-delivering these photos. And that is also a sign of a lack of confidence, that you just don't feel sure enough in what you're delivering, so you're delivering too many. So again, only you can say, is this a methodology issue? Like, do I just need to learn another strategy? Or do I need to examine my feelings and my mindset around culling? You guys, I know it sounds well, it does sound very woo-woo, but it's true. If you're struggling and resisting, it's because you are attached and you have to detach. So a strategy for me is to detach and set the timer. I only want to deliver my best, because another piece of this is, if you are delivering mediocre work, you are watering down your amazing images with those okay photos. So why not just deliver your very best that tells the whole story of the day, whether that's a wedding or the portrait session. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, or your approach, how you handle it. Have you come up with a strategy? In the past, I have absolutely been emotionally attached to my images. For me, I can say it was a lack of confidence. I just didn't feel confident in what I was delivering, so I wanted to over-deliver. Over-giving is always points back to a lack of confidence or having low self-esteem. So I wasn't convicted or strong enough in my professionalism, in my work, to just say, here are the images. Well, now I am. And it's not that it sounds almost like I don't care. That's not true. I care very much, but I am detached. It's not an emotional thing for me. I want to deliver the best photos. So I'm going to reject, and I'm going to be pretty ruthless about it. Also, in addition to that, I permanently delete all of those rejected photos prior to sending out the images to the client. Now, I know a moment ago I said people have different methodologies, whether that's X to reject or P to pick. The reason I selected X to reject is because of the keyboard shortcuts. When you press X to reject and you have, say, 50 images that are rejected, you can then press Command Delete on the Mac, that's Control Backspace in the PC, and Lightroom will say, hey, do you want to remove these rejected photos or permanently delete them? I permanently delete them from my hard drive and my backup prior to delivering to a client. I have tons of videos on why I do that as well, but you can't do that if you pick your photos. So if you are using P for pick, or if you're using a color, you can filter based on the ones that did not get that color or that pick, certainly, and select them all and delete them. I suppose that is an approach, but I like the keyboard shortcut. So I knew that that keyboard shortcut only worked with rejecting photos, which is why I used it. Jenny, my clock is from Amazon. I'm going to post the link to that below because it's amazing. I got it originally to help with organizing the house and for my kids when they were younger, because I would say to them, listen, you could give me 30 minutes. 30 minutes, go clean your room, 30 minutes. And I would put this visually where they could see it. And I'm telling you, there's something that happens in your brain. I have an analog clock in my office for this reason. You should have an analog clock or a timer somewhere in your home. Your brain reacts differently to it. It can actually calculate time much, much faster. So if you, listen, you don't have to believe me. You can read the research. I don't care. But if you were to look at a clock that said 3:15, whether it was analog or digital, and you had something to do at 3:30, like for me, pick my child up off the bus. If you look at the analog, your brain instantly, very, 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 very quickly knows that 3:30 is 15 minutes away. When you look at 3:15 digitally, whether you believe it or not, it actually takes longer for your brain to process the fact that 3:15 is 15 minutes away from 3:30. Okay, I read all of these studies, but hopefully you found this useful. And listen, here's the bottom line. Here's what I want to say to you guys when you tell me that you're struggling to call, you're attached. I give you all the strategies, you know how to do it. Okay, listen, just do it. Make it happen. Don't make any excuses. I don't want to hear. I can't. It's too hard. Yes, you can. It's rejecting images. It's easy. Make it happen. I'll see you in the next video.